Yo, what's going on, Dragon Ballers? Welcome back to another video. I've been home from Gen Con for a few days now, just collecting my thoughts on the whole thing with Dragon Ball Super Card Game, Masters, and Fusion World. We're going to talk about all that in today's video. I had an incredible time at Gen Con, most of which was not related to playing Dragon Ball, none of it really, and we'll talk about that later in the video. And this might be the last video you see from me for quite a while, so if you care about just me and the channel in general, just stay tuned till the end, I guess. But we're gonna take no further time and just go right on into the Fusion World website and talk about my thoughts on it. All right, guys, so let's take a look here. We are on the Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World website. It's very basic right now because obviously the game just got announced. I mean, there's a bunch of tabs up here, but we'll scroll through most of it and I'll just kind of give my thoughts as we go through. So I guess, like, first and foremost, let's go through the about section. So it looks like this is dropping early 2024 and we're pretty much at the end of 2023 already, so this is coming out pretty soon, especially considering when the announcement came out, which was literally a week ago at Gen Con at the end of 2023. So based on the current game rules, Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World will provide a more intuitive card battle experience. Can be played tabletop or digitally. All right, so I have thoughts right here already. So they announced that our online client that we beta tested for the regular, at the time only, Dragon Ball Super Card Game is now going to basically be adopted into Dragon Ball Super Fusion World. So Fusion World is going to have both a paper version and a digital version, and Dragon Ball Super Card Game Masters is only going to have an IRL paper version for now, I guess you can say. So we did get some more insight on this because David Fashbinder, who is the head judge of the game and is up top there with Bandai, he did a live during Gen Con and kind of gave us some more information about this. So basically what happened was they were creating the digital client, they were coding it and everything, and according to him, it was very complicated to code what is currently Dragon Ball Super Card Game Masters into the online client. And that's somewhat understandable. I can see where some people would call that lazy. I can also see that perspective myself. Unfortunately, it's very disheartening to see that the game we know and love and have invested so much time into is not going to be playable on the digital client. It is very, very disheartening for many reasons, of which I'm sure we'll get into in this video. But basically, Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World is a more simplified version of Masters, the OG game, and that's they're adapting into the digital client. Now, I guess for a pro, what I'll say about that is, the layout for the digital client was good. Like, I liked the character models and the battling and everything. But one of the complaints that a lot of us had was the energy placement. Basically, instead of how you'd be used to playing it IRL, where the energy is at your bottom row of your board, the energy was kind of just like in a pool off to the corner on the digital client, and that was kind of annoying, mostly for defense, I would say, where you wanted to really be aware of how much energy you had open, and for offense too. I mean, if you are just used to that visual cue of how much energy you have, I could see that being frustrating. It was frustrating for me for sure, and that was really one of my main points of criticism was the way the energy appeared. But the way the game is going to work, and I'm not sure if they get into it more on this website, I'll go over the rules that I know if they don't. But the way energy works on that client is going to be better for Fusion World because there's just less you're doing with your energy, especially in terms of defense. There's no counterattacks, no counterplays at this point in Dragon Ball Super Card Game Fusion World. And I'm pretty sure someone has confirmed that those types of cards will not be in the game. At the very most, counterplays, but possibly also counterattacks. So with that being said, that energy layout where it's just that kind of pool in the corner, if you remember from that video, it does make more sense for Fusion World. I still would have liked to see it laid out on the board like normal, but it is what it is. But of course, again, it's super disheartening that we're not going to be getting the digital client for the card game we've put so much time into. My personal wish, if they really felt like it was too difficult to code Masters into the client, I wish that Fusion World would have just been digital only. And really the goal, or Bandai's goal, besides of course being a company and wanting to make money, their goal with doing Fusion World is to say, hey, Dragon Ball Super Card Game and what's now Masters is very complicated and there's a big barrier to entry for new players, which, I mean, at this point you have to agree with. The game is rather complicated, but that's what makes it so fun and rewarding. Yes, we are a smaller, tight-knit community, but I mean, I love everyone in this community, and I know we all love the rewarding feeling of being good at Dragon Ball because it is one of the most, if not the most skill-based game out there right now, for a multitude of reasons. But I can totally see where that is a big barrier to entry for new players. So that's one of the goals of Fusion World, is to simplify the game, get people into the game, and then I guess hopefully get them to play Masters, which I don't know if it's going to be a more competitive format. Like, you know, theoretically by like skill requirement, it'll be a more competitive format, but I mean, I'm sure they'll have a Fusion World Nationals and a Masters Nationals, and at that point, you know, you play whichever one you prefer, right? And all the new players, I mean, I don't see why they would ever move up to Masters if they had the same level of events for Fusion World. But I don't know much about the organized play idea for this. I'm not sure if this website goes into it more, but that was kind of my whole spiel about I wish that Fusion World would just be digital, and that could still be a good gateway to get people into Masters if they really want to play a paper version of Dragon Ball Super. Yes, the games would be a little bit different, but then in that case, Fusion World's more accessible if it's digital only, and a good gateway to teach you most of the rules that you need to know for Masters. And then you have just a slight transition from the online Fusion World game to the IRL Masters game, but they're not going that route. They're printing paper for Fusion World, which, you know, me personally, like if you look behind me, I have my comic collection and I have my Dragon Ball Super card game collection, and I personally cannot go through with collecting another card game. As much as I love Dragon Ball and as much as I love the artwork of this game, I can't dedicate money and time and space to collecting Fusion World. So if I do play paper Fusion World events, I mean, I'll probably just do the thing that most competitive players do and just buy the decks and then, you know, sell them, get rid of them when my events are over, because I still love my Dragon Ball Super card game Masters collection. That's not going to change, but again, it's just so much of a money sink and a space, you know, taker-upper to fit all that stuff. But anyways, enough about my spiel. I guess let's get back into this actual thing. A super aggressive card game enhanced by 2 systems. All right, we're gonna have to stop again real quick. What I don't understand about this, or like I guess what kind of trips me up, is that the beginning of Dragon Ball Super card game, what's now Masters, was a very, very aggressive card game. And to be honest with you, like, you know, the primary audience for this game, and it was really the Western part of the world at first, at least, and we hated the ultra aggro version of the game. Like, you had set 1 and 2 were definitely a lot more mid-rangey, but then once set 3 rolled around with Storm, I mean, that was what killed a ton of locals, to be honest. And unfortunately, I don't think many places around the country have recovered from even that 5 years ago, where Fruitigar and Storm took over, and before that there were very aggressive versions of Mecha Frieza killing you on turn 1. Like, as the Western player base, we hated that. So to see them like really advertising this as a super aggressive card game, and I believe somewhere on this website it says they want round timers to be 20 minutes, so of course it'll be best of 1, but 20 minutes is a very short round timer for any card game. So I don't know if this sales point's going to work here in the West. I know this game is being released globally, so I'm sure Japan will absolutely love this, because they've always loved faster types of games. Like, I know that from my experience in Yu-Gi-Oh! They love playing OTKs, they love playing faster paced games, whereas in the West it seems like we want to play a little bit more methodical, back and forth. Just a cultural difference, not a big deal. But you know, I guess that's something they've taken into account, is that how the rest of the world feel about this super aggressive card game. We'll see how that goes. So Awaken, your life's reduced to less than half. The leader card awakens. The battle is accelerated by the power up in a tight situation. So one thing that we've seen on the actual cards doesn't show here, but base power on the leaders is 15k, and then the awaken power is 20k. So I'm not really sure why they decided to go with that difference. You know, you just have to scale battle card power based on that now instead of how it was in the past. But that's one thing worth noting. So we have the combo step. Combo to join forces, combo to defend, gather the power of your friends, and strike the final blow. Okay, so a couple things here. If you notice, it's very small on the screen here, but this card, this Android 17, is vanilla. It combos for 10k, but there's no combo cost. So we're very much not used to that with the Masters side of the game, right? Because typically everything that combos for more than 5k costs at least 1 energy, but on combo cards in this game, there are no energy costs. So we've seen cards that have 0 combo power, 5k combo power, 10k combo power, and I think even 20k combo power, if I'm not mistaken. And those all cost 0. So obviously, like, you know, the card might not be playable to the board if it has very high combo cost, kind of like One Piece in that regard. But also what we've seen too is super combos, at least the ones that I've seen from the trial decks, they don't draw cards, and defensively they're 20k combo, but offensively they're just plain 10k. So I do actually like that change, I can't lie. Super combos just being more inherently defensive rather than offensive, but you will need a good amount of high combo power cards in your deck if there's not really going to be any, you know, counterattacks and whatnot. So card types and deck building. So we of course have our leader, we're used to that. We have our battle cards and we have our extra cards. So of course they're ditching the whole Zenkai mechanic for this game in order to simplify it, and they're ditching unisons as well. So extra cards here, from what I've seen, are all activate main, activate battle. Again, no counterattack, no counterplay, nothing like that we've seen so far. Victory condition: the game starts with a deck and leader card in place. The first player to reduce an opponent's life to 0 wins. And we still have the same 8 life, I believe, here. So yeah, if they want the game to actually be 20 minutes, it's gonna have to be a very aggressive game, like playing very low cost cards and having them attack and doing a bunch of damage on the spot. Because if players are able to play defensive strategies, I mean, 20 minutes is gonna be a very short round timer. We have a video here. We have products here, starter decks, booster packs, others, of course, we're pretty much used to that, and the digital client, which you know, we talked about ad nauseum already. I'm not going to kind of rehash that. Events, stories, and special Q&A. All right, let's actually take a look at the Q&A. That might clear up some stuff here. All right, from a quick skim of this, I see some interesting stuff, so let's take a look. So about the game in general, question: are Masters and Fusion World compatible together? Although the 2 game titles share some common rules, you cannot use cards from one game with the other. That makes sense. Will Fusion World replace Masters? Fusion World will not replace Masters and will continue to operate as a separate game title. So this is one thing I've always been concerned about. I even talked about this on Facebook pretty recently, but with our small, tight-knit community, I find it difficult that we're going to be able to support 2 formats, and I think we'll see more players go from Master to Fusion World, especially if that gains a lot of popularity with the online client, rather than the inverse, people going from Fusion World to Masters. That's just my personal opinion, but you know, I hope that it just boosts Dragon Ball Super card game in general overall. I hope that's what happens. Will product for Fusion World release at the same time as Masters? Booster packs, the main item, will be coordinated so that 2 titles will not be released in the same month. Okay, that's interesting. Some items, such as starter decks, may be released in the same month. Okay, so that kind of seems like they don't want to overload customers in the same month, with the hopes that the players that play Fusion World and Masters will buy both products for both games. I really think that people are going to stick to one. Like, I don't know. People have budgets. Like, I feel like Bandai kind of loses that sometimes, where they have so many card games. Now they have 2 card games with the same IP. They're kind of losing sight of the fact that card game players actually have budgets. Many players are budget players, and it's going to be very difficult to get them to pay into both games. Will digital version be for both games? Digital version will be only for Fusion World. We knew that already. Will the game be released in other languages apart from English and Japanese? At this moment, we only plan to release English and Japanese. Okay, so that might still mean English will be available in parts of Europe and stuff like that. I'm not sure, but that's good to know, I guess. When will digital release? Release is scheduled during February 2024, my birthday month. Might be streaming a lot of this during my birthday month. More details will be available on the official website in the future. How will the promotion codes in booster packs work? We're considering a special offer where each promotional code will unlock an in-game item. Okay, so that's very similar to Pokemon TCG, where if you buy cards, you get those QR code cards and get to unlock things in game. So that's pretty interesting. I didn't know that before. What kind of events are being planned? We're planning regional championships throughout year 2024. Also, there will be several trial events, pre-release events. Stay tuned for more info. How do we apply for FW events? That's going to be, I guess, more for like TOs and stuff. So that was actually some decent information. Doesn't really go over the rules, and I swear at Gen Con I saw somewhere where the round timer for this game is desired to be 20 minutes. But I guess the one thing I'll go over with you guys is just a few of the rules that I am aware of. Here we go. Okay, I found where for recommended format, I guess for celebration events they want to do, they have a 20-minute round timer recommended here. So I didn't just make that up. But yeah, I guess the only rule I didn't go over that I was made aware of at Gen Con was that you can only play cards in your deck that match the color of your leader. So very similar to One Piece once again in that regard. We already talked about the lack of counterattacks and counterplays, so you guys are made aware of that. Deck building I think is pretty similar, probably. I think it's 50 to 60 cards, so they kind of adopted that from Masters, where they increased the deck size count over time. So those are all good things to know, I guess. I've already talked about my concerns with like Fusion World just kind of taking over the whole Masters thing. Again, I hope it doesn't happen, because I love the rewarding gameplay of Masters, and of course we're going to lose a lot of that, because you get a lot of that reward with counterplay, with counterattack, and knowing when to activate certain skills. And whenever a game is more complex, yes, that barrier to entry is going to be a little bit higher, but again, there's more skill expression, which I'm a really big fan of. In all honesty, Fusion World is seeming a lot like One Piece, just like a little bit of a difference where you can counter, like, you know, in One Piece it's counter, in Dragon Ball it's combo. You can combo on offense to push damage, where in One Piece you can't really do that. You would attach Dawn instead. But overall, it's seeming a bit similar, except for the fact that Dragon Ball Fusion World still won't have summoning sickness. So I think at this point I've covered everything I wanted to cover as far as Fusion World and Masters are concerned, but there's still a decent portion of this video to go. And that's where I announced that I'm taking a break from YouTube content creation for Dragon Ball Super. I didn't want to title this video anything in that regard. I feel like it's very dramatic, and if you guys have followed me on the channel here, I've typically not done a lot of drama content, although maybe I should have been doing that because that's what gets a whole lot of views, but that's a story for another time. But yeah, I am going to be taking a break from content creation for Dragon Ball Super for a multitude of reasons. I guess the first one is, I'm going to Japan this month, actually going on Wednesday, so wish me a good trip, I guess. But I'll be away for about 2 weeks for that. Like, my summer's been very busy. I talked to you guys a couple times about what I've been doing this summer, and between going to Italy with family, going to Japan with friends next week, which I'm super excited about, and everything going on with my comic book. It's been a very busy summer, and I haven't had as much time to buckle down and make content. But I guess on the other hand, I have to just be totally honest with you guys that my heart hasn't been in making videos for the better part of probably the past month or 2 months. And I've kind of just slowly started realizing that myself. And there's a multitude of reasons for that. I mean, I think if you guys follow a lot of people on YouTube, you would see that, after putting this much time and consistency into content creation, the numbers typically grow. And I don't blame that on you guys at all, on like my fan base in any way. I think it's just an unfortunate handicap that the Dragon Ball Super card game has, because again, we are a very small community, and unfortunately, in a lot of ways, I think Bandai handicaps himself with a lot of their advertising methods or lack thereof. And it ends up reflecting back to me and making this job a lot harder to invest time into. Because like I said, I'm doing things with my comic book. I have my regular day job. I'm considering going back to school. I'm probably going to be moving soon. I've got a lot of stuff going on, and I have to allocate time where it makes most sense for me in my future. I still love Dragon Ball Super. I still love doing this. But I only have so much time in a day, and I have to really dedicate that to where I think it's going to be most fruitful. Now, I guess I should let you guys know that I'm not going to be stopping any Patreon content right now for many reasons. Besides the fact that it is an income for me, much more of an income than YouTube. I still really much enjoy the whole coaching aspect, and I've been grateful to work with so many great players, and that's something I've always done. I've personal trained in the past. I was big into I still am big into fitness. So coaching has always come natural to me. I've always really enjoyed that one-to-one personal connection. I mean, in my day job, I'm a student advisor for a college. So you guys can see how I really much enjoy that one-on-one connection. So I'm going to keep doing that. If you guys are interested in that, still want to improve at Dragon Ball Super Card Game Masters or Fusion World once we learn more about that, that'll still be available. I don't know when I'm coming back to doing content creation as far as YouTube is concerned. At the very least, I will be gone the rest of August. And again, probably in September is when I'll be moving and whatnot for my new job. So I really don't have a date on when I'll return. Now, I gotta say too, like going back to the whole thing about my heart not being in the videos, it does have to do with the lack of growth on the channel, and that's very, very demotivating for sure. But a lot of it's my fault too. Like, I should have noticed this and maybe recognized the burnout a little bit faster. Because my videos, there's no sugarcoating it. They're relatively low quality, where I take a lot of cards, I put them on a slideshow, I give you guys my best competitive analysis, which I generally think is valuable information, but production quality is like not that high. So when I do come back, I really do want to work on ways to increase production quality, again, to a point where it's not going to take me 3 hours to make one 10-minute video. That's just not smart time-wise. I don't make enough money on videos to ever be doing that. But hopefully I can figure out a way to, ever slightly increase the production quality of videos, make them more interesting for you guys, and make them more fun for me in general. I have some ideas already on how I want to do that, but I think this break is going to let me kind of reevaluate. Now, the one thing I do want to talk about where I guess I'm even more demotivated and I really want to put more time into my other passion project, which again, my comic book. You guys have heard me talk about it time again, and pretty demotivating that for my Kickstarter and Indiegogos of the past for everything, the amount of people I could count on for having my back and backing my project and just wanting to be generally interested in what I was doing with that whole thing. I can count the people on less than one hand. Those are people I don't know or not friends with or not family members with. And that was pretty disheartening. But again, I'm a person that I believe I have to take accountability for anything that doesn't quite go as planned in my life. So while that was disheartening, I think it was just poor timing where I wasn't putting my heart into the videos anymore. My heart just wasn't there, and I'm sure that showed in the content, and I probably caused some bit of a rift between me and my community, and for that I do want to apologize. I should have recognized the burnout earlier, but it's okay. It's not a big deal. It's not the end of the world. I think I will be back to content creation for Dragon Ball Super. Again, I'm going to keep going with the coaching and everything like that because I genuinely just enjoy it. But for now, this is probably going to be the last video you see from me on YouTube for Dragon Ball or anything for a good bit. I am kind of planning on maybe getting to Star Wars Unlimited. That game looks really good. I had a good time demoing it at Gen Con. And speaking of which, I guess the last thing I want to leave you with this year at Gen Con for Dragon Ball Super was, I keep using the word disheartening, but very disheartening because it was the first year where we got 0 Gen Con exclusive product, which really just took away the luster of showing up to the second biggest event of the year for the game. I know we had the Bandai display promos, the Broly, the Vmon, the One Piece card, and the Battle Spirits card, but anyone that wasn't participating in Dragon Ball or any Bandai game could just go up, fill out a survey, and get those. So those were not exclusive to players, and that kind of put a sour taste in my mouth too for Gen Con this year as far as Dragon Ball is concerned. But anyways, guys, I hope this video didn't come across as too ranty or complainy. I'm still in high spirits. I mean, I'm still doing everything I want to do with my life, but I hope you understand my perspective on where I have to kind of reallocate some time and take a break from content creation. I love you guys. I really appreciate what you guys have allowed me to do in the past 5 years of Dragon Ball. I'm eternally grateful for that. For everyone that has supported me in the book, I'm, again, eternally grateful for that as well. If you have questions, drop them in the comments. I will be glad to answer them. I still want to communicate with you guys. I'll be on Discord as well. So, yeah, I hope you guys have a great rest of your summer, and I'll see you in the next one, whenever that is.